I never thought I'd live to see the day when the woman my son loved would raise her hand against me. But life, my dear, has a strange way of showing us who people truly are. Not when things are good, but when hearts grow greedy. Asterisk, my name is May. I'm 71 years old, and this story isn't easy for me to tell. But sometimes sharing pain helps it heal. And maybe, just maybe, it'll help someone listening tonight make a kinder choice in their own home. Asterisk, I raised my son, Daniel, on my own. His father died when he was just 10. We didn't have much. Just a little house with a porch that creaked when you walked on it, and a kitchen that always smelled of fresh bread and coffee. I worked at the local diner taking double shifts most weeks, but I didn't mind. Daniel was my world. Asterisk. He grew up to be such a good boy, polite, hardworking, the kind who opened doors for strangers. I used to look at him and think, May, you did something right. Asterisk, when Daniel got married, I was proud. I remember the day he brought her home. Her name was Lisa, pretty sharp, with a voice that could cut glass. I told myself she was just nervous around me. I tried to be kind, to make her feel welcome. I made her sweet tea, told her stories from my youth, and smiled even when she didn't smile back. Asterisk, but you know that feeling when someone's eyes tell you something their lips won't? Hers said, you're in my way. Asterisk, at first, it was small things. She'd correct me in front of Daniel. If I offered to help around the house, she'd say, no thanks, May. You'll just make a mess. And Daniel, he'd just laugh it off. I told myself to stay quiet. After all, a mother's place changes once her son becomes a husband. Asterisk, then one day, Daniel came to me with a gentle look and said, Mama, Lisa and I are moving in with you for a little while, just until we save for our own place. Asterisk, I smiled. I thought, oh, how wonderful. The house will have laughter again. But I didn't realize I was inviting a storm under my own roof. Asterisk, from the first morning, things felt different. Lisa rearranged my kitchen, my coffee mugs, my pantry, even my old family recipes, all reorganized. When I'd cook, she'd take over and say, it's okay, May, I'll handle it. I'd step aside, but inside something ached. Asterisk, then came the whispers. Owen. Daniel would go to work. Lisa would sit across from me at breakfast, her eyes cold and calculating. You know, May, she said one day, this house feels too big for just you. Don't you ever think about moving to a smaller place? Asterisk, I smiled politely. This is my home, dear. Your Daniel took his first steps right there, by that window. Asterisk, she smirked and said, yes, but times change. Maybe it's time you did too. I should have known then. Weeks went by, and little by little, I began to feel like a stranger in my own home. I'd find my laundry done, but not the way I liked. My room cleaned, but my things moved. Once I found my late husband's old watch in the trash. When I asked about it, Lisa said it looked broken. I was just helping. One night, Daniel came home late. They'd been arguing. I could hear them from my room, her voice sharp and cruel, his soft and tired. I tried not to listen, but I heard my name. Asterisk, she treats this house like it's hers, Lisa said. We'll never move forward if your mother keeps controlling everything. Asterisk, Daniel tried to calm her. Lisa, this is her home. We're guests. Asterisk, she shouted back. Not for long. Asterisk, my heart sank. I wanted to believe she was just upset, young, emotional, maybe even overwhelmed. So I prayed for her. Every night I prayed for peace in my home. But peace, it seems, was no longer welcome there. Asterisk, one morning I woke up to the sound of drawers slamming. Lisa was in the living room, her hair messy, her eyes full of fury. May, she shouted, where are the house papers? Asterisk, I blinked, confused. The what? Asterisk, the papers? The deed? Daniel said you were thinking of transferring the house someday. I need to see them. I never said that, I whispered. Her jaw tightened. Well, maybe it's time you do. Asterisk, I felt the blood leave my face. My hands trembled as I told her this house. It's all I have left. It's my memories. My husband's hands built this porch and my son took his first breath here. Asterisk, she stepped closer, her voice low and sharp. Then it's time you let go of the past. Asterisk, before I could answer, Daniel walked in. He looked exhausted, caught between two worlds. Lisa turned to him and said, Tell her we need the deed if we're going to refinance the loan. Asterisk, Daniel looked at me, guilt heavy in his eyes. Mama, it's just for paperwork. I'll make sure it's safe. Asterisk, I smiled, but something in me broke. Safe? I said softly. That's what I always wanted for you. Asterisk, that night, I couldn't sleep. I sat on my porch, holding my husband's picture. I whispered, Henry, I don't know what's happening to our boy. Slipping away from me. A week later, things got worse. Lisa started locking doors. My own home doors locked from the inside. She'd host her friends and tell them, it's our house now. I'd hear laughter from the kitchen where I once sang lullabies. Asterisk, then came the day. It's the day everything changed. Asterisk, it was a Sunday morning. I'd baked biscuits, Daniel's favorite. I set the table like I used to when he was little, with honey and butter. Lisa came down the stairs, saw the table, and frowned. Asterisk, what is this? She asked, Asterisk, breakfast, dear. I thought we could all eat together. Asterisk, she crossed her arms. You don't need to keep doing this, May. You're not his wife. Asterisk, I smiled sadly. I know, child. I'm just his mother. Asterisk, she laughed, cold and sharp. Exactly. Just his mother. Asterisk, something in me went quiet. I sat down, my hands trembling, but I said nothing. Daniel came in a moment later, kissed Lisa's cheek, and didn't even notice the biscuits. My heart felt heavy. Asterisk, after breakfast. I went to my room to pray. I heard their voices outside the door. Low, tense. Then footsteps. The door swung open. Lisa stood there, face red, eyes burning. Asterisk, give me the house keys, May, she said. Asterisk, I blinked. What? Asterisk, the keys. I want them. You don't need to have them anymore. From now on, everything goes through me. Asterisk, I shook my head, trying to stay calm. This house is mine, Lisa. You're welcome here, but it's still my home. Asterisk, and then. She slapped me. Asterisk, the sound was so sharp, even the walls went silent. I didn't move. My cheeks stung, but my heart hurt more. Asterisk, Daniel rushed in. Lisa, what the hell? Asterisk, she won't listen. Lisa screamed. She's controlling everything. I can't live like this. Asterisk, I looked at my son, the boy I had once held through fevers, through heartbreaks, through nights of hunger, and I saw him hesitate. Asterisk, that hesitation. It told me everything. Asterisk, he didn't defend me, didn't hold me. He just stood there, torn between the woman he married and the mother who raised him. Asterisk, I took off the keys from my wrist, placed them on the table, and said quietly, if it brings you peace, child, take them. And I walked away. I don't know how I made it out the door without falling apart. My knees trembled. My chest felt hollow. I walked to the park down the street and sat on an old bench. The sky was gray, heavy with rain, and I whispered, Lord, I gave them everything. What else can they take? The wind didn't answer. But as I sat there, watching the clouds roll in, something inside me began to shift. I realized maybe this wasn't about losing a home. Maybe it was about learning what can't be taken. Dignity, grace, peace. Asterisk, still that night when I returned. The locks had been changed and my son, my Daniel, didn't come looking for me. It rained the whole night after they changed the locks. I remember standing on the porch, the one Henry built with his own hands. It's the same porch where I'd rocked Daniel to sleep under a blanket of stars. The house lights were on, but no one came to the door. I called my son's name once, twice, then stopped. My voice broke in the rain. Asterisk, you see? There's a kind of silence that doesn't just fill your ears, it fills your bones. That night, I felt it. It was the silence of being forgotten by someone you raised, someone you loved more than your own breath. Asterisk, I found shelter at my neighbor Ruth's house. Sweet woman, always baking something. When she opened the door and saw me standing there, drenched and trembling, she didn't ask questions. She just said, "Come in, May." Asterisk, I sat by her fireplace, holding a cup of tea. My hands shook so much I could barely hold it. Ruth looked at me gently and said, "You can stay here as long as you need." Asterisk, that night, I didn't sleep. I kept thinking, how could my own son stand there watching his wife throw me out of the house I built for him? Had I done something wrong? Did loving him too much make him weak? Asterisk, the next morning, I walked to the church. I sat in the back pew alone. I didn't pray for revenge. I just asked God to show me what to do with all this pain. And for the first time, I felt an answer. Not in words, but in a kind of calm that wrapped around me like a blanket. It said, let go. Let go of what you can't carry anymore. So I did. I stopped trying to call Daniel. I stopped waiting for footsteps that never came. Instead, I started working again part-time at the library. The quiet there felt healing. I met people who smiled without wanting anything from me. I read stories that reminded me that pain isn't the end, it's just a chapter. Asterisk still. Every night before bed, I'd whisper, "Good night, my boy," to an empty room. A mother's love doesn't vanish even when it's unwelcome. Asterisk, months passed. Seasons changed. The trees shed their leaves, and so did I. The old hopes, the constant waiting, the ache. Slowly, I started to feel myself again. I found laughter with Ruth. I joined a quilting circle. I started planting roses in her backyard. Yellow ones. It's Henry's favorite. Asterisk, then one evening there was a knock at the door. I opened it and froze. It was Daniel, asterisk. He looked older, tired, thinner. The light had gone out of his eyes. In his hand, he held the same set of keys I'd given up months ago. Asterisk, Mama. He said softly. Asterisk, my heart leaped, but I stayed still. Daniel, I whispered. Why are you here? Asterisk, he swallowed hard. I came to say I'm sorry. Asterisk, I didn't say anything. I just waited. Asterisk, he looked down, ashamed. Lisa left. She took the car, the money, everything. She said the house was never really hers. And she couldn't live in a place that reminded her of me. Asterisk, I breathed in slowly. And now? Asterisk, he nodded, tears filling his eyes. Now it's just me, alone. And I don't even know where to begin. Asterisk, I stepped aside. Then start with tea, I said gently. Come in. Asterisk, we sat in Ruth's kitchen, the clock ticking softly. He told me everything, how Lisa manipulated him, how she made him choose between peace and pride. How, in the end, when the house was empty, he realized what truly mattered wasn't ownership. It was love. Asterisk, I should have stood up for you, Mama, he said, his voice breaking. I was weak. I thought keeping peace meant staying silent. Asterisk, I reached across the table and took his hand. Daniel, I said softly, sometimes silence is the loudest betrayal. But I forgive you. Asterisk, he cried then, a grown man sobbing like a child, his shoulders shaking. I held him the way I used to when he scraped his knees and whispered, It's okay, baby. You found your way home. That's what matters. Asterisk, for days, he stayed with me. We talked, we cooked together, we even laughed a little. I saw glimmers of the boy I once knew. But I also saw a man who'd been broken by pride and love gone wrong. Asterisk, one afternoon. He said, Mama, the house doesn't feel like home anymore. Too many memories. I want you to have it back. I already changed the name on the papers. Asterisk, I smiled faintly. Oh, my dear, I don't need the house. I've found my peace. Asterisk, he frowned. But you loved that home. Asterisk, I looked out the window at the yellow roses swaying in the breeze. I loved what that home represented, family, warmth, love. But those things don't live in walls, Daniel. They live in people. And when people change, homes lose their meaning. Asterisk, he nodded, quiet. I could tell he was finally starting to understand. Asterisk, before he left that evening, he hugged me tightly. I don't deserve your love, he whispered. Asterisk, I smiled, pressing my hand to his cheek. You don't have to deserve it. You're my son. That's enough. Asterisk, and when he walked away, I didn't feel the ache I once did. I felt gratitude for the lesson, for the healing, for the strength that comes only after the storm. Asterisk, weeks later, Daniel sold the house. He gave me half the money. I used it to buy a little cottage near the lake, a quiet place with blue shutters and a garden full of roses. Ruth comes by often, and sometimes Daniel visits too. We sit on the porch, watch the sunset, and don't talk about the past. We don't need to, asterisk, you know. I've learned something through all this. Something I want to leave with you, my dear. Asterisk, family isn't always who stays under your roof. It's who stands beside your heart when the roof collapses. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting the pain. It means choosing to live free from it. Asterisk, sometimes love will hurt you. Sometimes the people you raise will wound you in ways no stranger ever could. But love, real love, never dies. It just changes form. It becomes wisdom. It becomes strength. Asterisk. And as I sit here tonight, rocking slowly on this new porch, I can still feel Henry's hand in mine, Daniel's laughter in the wind, and a quiet peace that whispers, you made it through. May, you've made it through. Asterisk, in the end. I learned that sometimes losing your home teaches you what a real home is. Asterisk, it's not a house, not a deed. Not a set of keys, it's the heart that keeps loving even after it's been broken. Asterisk, and that, my dear, that's where true peace lives.